Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this time of being facing losses here at church. And this family has been bereaved. We live in harrowing times which are uncertain and frightening. But we do remind ourselves as we come together in this place that we are not alone, but that the God whom we have served for many, many years is here with us, standing ready to bless us, to support us, and to give us his gentle peace. Over the last few days, we here at church have been keeping this family in our very special place, for we know how grief hurts, and we know all that accompanies grief. We know that the toughness that it brings. So we continue to pray in a very special way, asking God with lots and lots of comfort, asking God to grant to you his strength and his reassurance during this challenging time. I don't think it's any secret that Pat was quite a character, and he often gave us a run for our money here at church. I sometimes was so tired after the service that the last thing that I felt like doing was to have an argument with him, because I knew that I would probably lose that argument. And now today I'm particularly worried because there's one argument we had to clarify. It was on the book of Ezekiel in the Old Testament of all things. I am on one side very relieved because I know, George, that there where he is now, all his questions have been answered. And when we get there, we will just speak calmly over a cup of tea or perhaps a German beer, with no one different, being different of any opinion, speaking the same language, and having the same goal, and that is to see the song of the land forever and ever. That will be fondly remembered here at Somerset United Church, but as we huddle together for warmth and for mutual understanding today, I trust that we will find beauty as we remember him fondly and with gratitude. I know that this is not perhaps the kind of funeral that we would have liked. You know, COVID has messed everything around, but I'm pretty sure that everybody who is here wants to be here today. And I speak on behalf of the family when I say that your presence here today matters greatly to those who are sitting in front. If you have made special plans with your boss or with your workplace, if you have traveled a substantial distance, please know that that is noticed and treasured by thanks here. I'm going to lead us in a word of opening prayer. Shall we pray together? Trustworthy and dependable God, you are our beginning and you are our end. It's quite high, but I'm going to make the key lower so that you can reach that top E flat, okay?
Please be seated. Friends, the family has invited Rob Green to bring words of eulogy, and after Rob has spoken, then Bevan will come and read a eulogy written by Pat's sisters, Jane and Anne, and Becky will follow, and then Janine, uh, Pat's daughter from Natal, will be speaking in a pre-recorded eulogy. We'll put her up on the screen, and finally Melody will come and bring words of eulogy. So in that order, please will you come and speak to us. I think this mic is on. Am I right? This one is on? Good. Thanks, Rob.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Thanks. Um, I was standing outside with Chris earlier and trying to work out what I was going to say. I've been thinking about this for a long time because Patrick was a very, very, very multifaceted, complex man. He was a wonderful man. He was a wonderful friend. He was a wonderful father. I can see if I look at these beautiful daughters, if I look at them, I can see he was the most wonderful, wonderful father. And it always amazed me how deeply, Melody, how much you loved him. And it's absolutely heartbreaking that you see that he's now left you. And there are so many memories of Patrick. And there's so many things that I've known him for about 12 years. I actually met him through this church. Um, Chris has got a men's group going on a Saturday. On a Saturday morning, we used to have coffee, and I met him through that. And he was always contentious. But he was always seeking. He was always looking. He was always trying to find the truth in things. And he was the true scientist. He scratched around and he wanted to know. And there's so many nights on Tuesday nights we used to get together with Melody, yeah, Patrick, Jennifer, and I. We used to get together, and we used to have YouTube evenings. And there were so many subjects that we covered. We covered history. We covered religion. We covered music. He loved Russian folk songs, and there were so many things that and but he was in so many ways. He was just such a wonderful man. And we used to phone me early in the morning, and we used to have all sorts of things. I either had to come and fix his computer, or there was a problem with this, or he had a political issue, and it was just so many facets to Patrick. And the but I almost, and I can see him with what's happening now in the country. He can actually say, "I told you so. It was going to be a civil war." And this was his thing. He so often told me, "When are we going to have the civil war? When are the people going to rise up?" But he just looked at life in so many ways. He looked at what life and we had so much fun. We went and saw the flowers together. And he was always interesting. He always had a little. And he knew so much. He knew so much about so many things, and a lot of that he carried over and he gave to Melody. And Melody's got the same inquiring mind, and I can see him when you get to know his children. You can see Patrick very strongly imprinted in his children, in the inquisitive, how much he wanted to know about everything. And he used to phone you, but I think his best friend became Google. He used to ask Google everything, and he used to tell me YouTube, and then he found YouTube, and then recently he got himself a smart TV. I don't know how he managed to work this thing, but I suppose I've got to thank John for helping him get this TV going. And he used to watch the most unbelievable stuff, and he get this call, and he'd tell me about this thing on YouTube. And so YouTube and Google became very much his life at the end. And I'm just so pleased that he could answer so many questions. And as Bevan said, that hopefully the, the, the real question will be answered when he gets to heaven. And I know he's going to be up there. He's going to be up there with Siggy and with his beloved wife. He was so lonely after she left. To work, but I could see that Siggy left his whole family actually was so important to him. That and he spoke so fondly of all of them. He spoke with such compassion and so much love with all his family, and you could see that he loved them deeply, and he was a man of deep love, and I think he's all left all of us a lot poorer. And I will remember Patrick with a lot of fondness. And but there are just so many stories. I've got a whole list of the stuff that I wrote down this morning. But I just wanted to say to you, let's just remember Patrick as he was. And he was a wonderful man. And he was a very, very special father. And I grieve with all of you. And I hope that we can all just remember him as he was, a wonderful, fun-loving man who loved to dance and drink and whatever. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rob, for those humble, sincere words. I've actually just remembered that Pat's very profound and pertinent question wasn't regarding the book of Ezekiel, it was actually Deuteronomy. So, yeah, I really dodged a bullet there. I've got here in front of me a tribute compiled by Pat's sisters, Anne and Jane. Patrick went first to a prep school near home, but then went away to boarding school, Bishop's Stortford College. He went on then to university, more than one, as I remember. As a result, we really didn't know him too well. Little things come to mind for me as I think back. He teased me quite a bit, likening my nose to a red cherry on more than one occasion. His passion for entomology was evident from an early age, and we remember he was always going to the local stream, from where he would bring back various bugs and tricky crawlers. Anne remembers him bringing home slugs, which he put in a container in the fridge, forgetting to close the lid properly. You can imagine what happened next. I remember he brought leeches back and thought it a good idea to give them a home in the bath. Surprise, surprise, they all got out. Our mom did not find that amusing at all. There was an occasion where Pat was going somewhere by train, but mislaid his luggage or forgot to take it with him altogether. So Dad had to drive onto stations further and further up the line in order to retrieve it. I remember when Mike and I visited South Africa, Patrick took us to a watering hole where animals came to drink. There was a hide where the public could go and watch at a safe distance. Patrick insisted on going into his hole with his net to gather insect samples of all things. We were very concerned that a hippo might come along, but he insisted, and luckily all was fine. Patrick and Sieglinde came to stay with me and Mike in Sydney, and Anne and Tony only once, and shortly after that, they left the UK to begin their life here in South Africa. And that is, of course, where we all connected with Pat here on South African soil. And we had the blessing of having him here at Somerset West United Church. We pay tribute to this special man, and we will remember him for a long, long time. Thank you. I think I've got it all wrong. I think the question that Pat was on about was actually about the book of Revelation. Now that I come to see it.
I think we can all relate Dad of the childhood memories as described by my aunts in some way or other. The scattered brain professor, not worried about materialistic things and small issues of life, rather as the warrior in conservation, socio-economic issues, and the meaning of life. But I knew him as my dad. He was the most loving father. He was eternally proud of his 3 daughters and especially his German wife. And I'm only going to highlight 2 of the many. I'll tell you the story of how he outran us 3 girls with the so-called hippo charge, or the time when he got charged by the elephant after giving Janine a hiding while setting up camp in Botswana. These two stories that I will tell really sum up my 1 in a million dad. My parents always told us of how they met. It was an unusually hot day in England, and my dad went down to, in his words, the crowded swimming pool. There was no space anywhere on the lawn except a small spot next to this beautiful blonde. He realized she was foreign and started speaking to her in all different languages. He had just completed a series of travels to Finland, Australia, Malaysia, and various other European countries. She was so impressed with his interesting character that she agreed to meet him for an ice cream. They had to meet at a specific entrance of the pool, but there were 6 different entrances. So you can imagine what happened next. My mom waited 30 minutes and was just going to leave when she saw this Englishman with 2 melting ice creams dripping down his forearms running towards her. It was at this moment that she decided she needed to marry him. The rest was history. They came to South Africa with me on a ship in 1971, where they would start their life and new adventures. My dad loved South Africa, and even with all the issues and politics and all his moaning, he would never have traded his life and adventures to anywhere else in the world. My dad was our hero. He was forever saving us from flying cockroaches, hunting spiders, and any other creepy crawlies entering our territory. My dad loved the bush, and we were always going on adventures. I remember our wonderful trips to Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and the Zululand game reserves and beaches. I remember one specific incident that had me and my 2 sisters in stitches of laughter. It was in the middle of the bush in Zambia when my dad developed a boil on his forearm. Now you must remember, my dad, as brave as he was with creepy crawlies, was a real sissy when it came to medical issues. He was petrified of needles. So when my mom tried to prod the boil, he was squirmishing away. I remember my mom saying, "Ach, Patrick, don't be such a baby." The next minute, a big fat white maggot crawled out of the so-called boil. Well, my mother nearly fainted, and my dad went from the sissy to a very ecstatic scientist. He was so delighted and relieved and ran for a specimen bottle to send it to the Natal Museum. For those of you that don't know, it was a putsy fly found in some parts of Africa that laid eggs on clothes outside on the line that burrows into the skin, which eventually hatches as a maggot. Well, these 2 stories sum up my dad, who was 1 in a million. So next time you see a bug come past, it might be one of the many that was named after him, Reavell. Spare a thought for this warrior of life, who was never afraid to speak out, and remember my dad, Patrick Reavell. I just want to thank you all for coming here, and I just want to thank all those wonderful messages and the emails regarding my dad. Thank you.
We're going to play the message now from Janine, which we have pre-recorded. Okay, Melody and then Janine.
Oh my goodness, I recognize you guys. Let me just do something. Praise the Lord, hallelujah. Can I just lift this thing up? I don't know. John? Okay. I just want you to say that you are a captive audience. So if I start crying at any point, you didn't know, but the government came and put super glue on your seats. So you can't go anywhere. You're stuck there.